Chapter 16 is on the lymphatic system, and this system is a collection of cells and chemicals that travel the lymphatic vessels. And this network of vessels assists in circulating fluids. It's very closely associated with the cardiovascular system. The three functions of the lymphatic system is to transport excess fluid from your interstitial spaces, meaning the space between tissues and cells, and return it to the bloodstream. It absorbs lipids from the digestive system, and it transports them to the bloodstream. And also, your lymphatic system defends your body against disease. The term immune system will refer to the fact that many of the cells in the lymphatic system provide defense against disease and permanent injury, or immunity against future infections. The cells, again, are going to be white blood cells or lymphocytes. Lymphatic pathways will look similar to blood vessels. We have lymphatic capillaries, and they are the ones that will draw the fluid in, and then they'll go through a lymphatic vessel to a lymph node, and that lymph node then will kind of clean the fluid in a sense, and then bring it through another larger lymphatic vessel to a lymphatic trunk, and then it will dump into a lymphatic collecting duct, and then into the subclavian veins in the thoracic area. Lymphatic systems carry excessive fluid from the interstitial spaces back to the bloodstream. There's a structure in the digestive tract called lacteals, and they are capillaries that absorb fat and transport them to the blood. Lymphatic capillaries are microscopic, they're closed-ended, and they are parallel with blood capillaries. They are made up of simple squamous epithelium, and so once the fluid comes from the tissues and enters into the lymphatics, is now called lymph. That then merges into the lymphatic vessels. A lymphatic vessel is similar to a vein but thinner, and they're composed of an endothelial layer, the very inside, a smooth muscle, and a connective tissue on the outside. They will contain semilunar valves, and their larger vessels lead to lymphatic nodes, then to larger lymphatic trunks from there. The lymphatic trunks will drain lymph from the lymphatic vessels, and the name for the region they serve is lumbar, intestinal, intercostal, bronchomediastinal, subclavian, and jugular. The lymphatic collecting duct will drain lymph from the trunks in the thoracic duct and the right lymphatic duct. So you can see here the right lymphatic duct will drain areas of the right arm and the right chest and the right side of the head. The rest of the body all goes into the thoracic duct. The breasts drain to the axillary lymph nodes, and sometimes when there's a mastectomy done, they'll be removing these lymph nodes, or any kind of surgery, like of a lumpectomy. It can remove some of those and cause edema. Here's the axillary drainage and mammary regions. This is the pathway to the large thoracic duct. Lymph is tissue fluid that has entered the lymphatic capillaries, and lymph formation depends on tissue fluid formation. Capillary blood pressure filters water and smaller molecules from the plasma, and the resulting tissue fluid has about the same composition as blood plasma, contains water and dissolved nutrients, gases, and hormones. The only thing that doesn't contain is large plasma proteins. Plasma proteins stay back in the blood plasma because they maintain osmotic pressure necessary to draw fluid back into the blood capillaries. Filtration of plasma normally exceeds at reabsorption, so leading to a net formation of tissue fluid. This increases the tissue fluid hydrostatic pressure within interstitial spaces, forcing fluid into the lymphatic capillaries, thus forming lymph. This process prevents accumulation of excess fluid or edema. Lymph inside the lymphatic vessel has a low hydrostatic pressure, like a venous. Good lymphatic flow requires help from several mechanisms. Muscle activity will help move lymph through the vessels, so contraction of skeletal muscles, respiratory process also, and smooth muscles of the larger lymphatic vessels contract to aid in the flow. There are valves in the lymphatic vessels that will prevent back flow, and lymphatic flow is highest during physical exercise. Roles of lymphatic capillaries. There's absorption of dietary fat, delivery of absorbed fat to the bloodstream, and return of small proteins filtered by blood capillaries to the bloodstream, collection of excess interstitial fluid, delivery of excess fluid to the bloodstream, and delivery of foreign particles to the lymphatic nodes. Lymphatic tissue has several types of cells, including lymphocytes and macrophages. Mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue, or MALT, are unencapsulated lymphatic tissues of the digestive, respiratory, urinary, and reproductive tract. We have tonsils and appendix, and in the abdomen there's Peyer's patches. Some organs are the spleen and the thymus, and lymph nodes. A lymph node is usually bean-shaped. It is located along lymphatic vessels, and it filters pathogens from the lymph. Contains a lymphocyte and a macrophage to fight any invading pathogens. You don't need to know the details of the lymph node, just know its general functions. Lymph nodes are found in groups or chains along the path of larger lymphatic vessels throughout the body. They are not in the central nervous system. These are your major regions. Two other primary functions. It filters potential harmful particles from the lymph. Immune surveillance, monitor body fluid by macrophages and lymphocytes. And along with red bone marrow, lymph nodes are centers for lymphocyte production. Lymphocytes attack various pathogens in lymph nodes, and macrophages engulf and digest foreign substances, damaged cells, and debris. The thymus is a gland in the mediastinum. It's divided into lobules. It contains lymphocytes, and most cells are inactive, called thymocytes. Some cells mature into functional T lymphocytes, or T cells, which leave the thymus to provide immunity. Thymosins are hormones produced by the thymus, which will stimulate T cell maturation. The thymus is larger when you're an infant and early childhood, and it shrinks at puberty and is smaller in an adult. The spleen is the largest lymphatic organ. Located in the upper left part of the abdominal cavity, it resembles a large lymph node. And it has two types of tissue, white pulp, which is lymphocytes, and red pulp, which is red blood cells, lymphocytes and macrophages. The spleen filters blood, similar to how the lymph nodes filter lymph. As we age, the immune system function declines early in life as the thymus gland shrinks. There's a higher risk for infection and cancer. T cell numbers decrease very slightly and B cell numbers do not change, but activity levels decline in both types of lymphocytes. Antibodies respond to antigens, become slower. You don't need to know the names of antibodies. Elderly may not be candidates for certain medical treatment that suppress immunity, such as chemotherapy. And that's chapter 16.